are you this fine Tuesday afternoon? My name's Christine, and I am delighted to be your host and your trainer today for this Google Digital Garage training session, which is all about how to find insights using different kinds of analytics tools. So as I say, I'm Christine, and I'm one of the trainers here on Google's free skills training program, the Google Digital Garage. I'm a marketeer by trade. I've been marketing since before the internet was even really a thing. And the constant challenge, I guess, that marketeers face in the world and in businesses is trying to measure the activity that we do. For businesses, knowing how different kinds of campaigns and maybe different activities that we do, how they have an impact on what's important to us as a business, that's what we're going to be looking at measuring today. So yeah, it's great to have you all with us. Alongside me today, I have our fabulous moderator, Sarah. Now, Sarah's also one of our really experienced Google Digital Garage coaches, and her job today is to interact with you. She is there to look after you. She's there to keep everything moving along. If you open up the chat, you will be able to see that Sarah's already in there waiting to chat with you. So why don't you pop in and open up the chat and say hi to Sarah now? Let her know who you are, how you joined us, why you joined us. If you can't see Sarah in the chat, you can tell it's Sarah and she's in charge because she has a little blue spanner. But if you can't see the chat, it's probably because you're not signed into YouTube. So sign up or sign into YouTube, and then you'll be able to find the chat. Assuming you're watching me live at 2:00 on the 14th of November, because if you're not watching live, then the chat function won't be there because Sarah will have gone on with her day. So any trouble viewing the webinar, best thing is to refresh the page, to get involved in the chat, to ask your questions, to see the links that Sarah's dropping, bop in, make sure you're signed in and look for that chat icon. If you want to have the captions on, then we have captions available for this video. Just hit the CC button. They should be there for you. And yeah, get involved. Ask us your questions. Tell us who you are and what it is you want to learn. Feel free to fire away with questions as we go through, and Sarah will be answering them as we go. We'll also have hopefully time for a little bit of Q&A at the end together. So, we are running this Google Digital Garage virtual training as part of our broader offering of courses. So if you'd like to check out the schedule of our upcoming broadcasts, head to the description below. You'll find the website. You know the drill. You'll be able to click through and book for whatever we've got coming up. All right, then. So today we are going to be looking at insights. So using data to help us run our businesses. So in order to do that, we're going to have to think about questions to ask. What questions do we want to know the answer to? And we'll take a look at the kinds of questions a business might want to ask. Then we'll look at some ways to find those insights, find the answers to those questions. So we'll be using different kinds of tools, different kinds of data sources to maybe help us find the questions. And finally, we're going to take a look into a bit more in depth into one of the kind of flagship analysis tools that's available for the internet, which is called Google Analytics. We'll take a little bit of a more in-depth look at that and see how we could use that to answer some of those questions about our business, about our marketing, about how we are doing out there. So first of all, let's jump into questions and asking the right questions. And here's a question. Let's start with a question, shall we? Here's a question for you. Pop in the chat if you like. Tell Sarah, how do you go about currently, right now, no right or wrong answers, for your business, if it is in business that you are, how do you find information out about it? How do you check up on your business performance? How do you find out of all the activity you do to try and achieve your business goals? How do you know, or do you know, which ones are helping you out? You might be saying to me here, Christine, that's why I came. And if that's the answer as well, that's fine. So if you don't really know yet, that's a good answer too. So let Sarah know what it is, if anything, you're doing to gather information about your business performance. And especially when I'm thinking of business performance, I'm thinking about, those activities that you do to get the message out there. Maybe how you go about doing things to get sales, doing things to get noticed. All of the activities, the external facing activities, how do you measure those? Do you measure those? Let Sarah know in the chat. And she'll let me know, because that's how we work. We work as a pair. She's going to let me know what's going on. So let's look at, I said we were going to talk about questions. So in order to get answers from data, we have to ask questions of our data. And we here use a process called REAM. Okay, so let's have a look at that. So sorry, before we jump into REAM, we're going to think about this 4-step framework. So in terms of getting the answers, first of all, you want to work out what as a business you want to achieve, what it is, why am I trying to do what I'm doing, to make sure that when we start asking questions of our data, the questions are relevant to what it is that we are looking at. Okay, then we can think, okay, this is what I want to achieve. What questions do I need to address to get good answers to that? Then we'll think about where we get the information. And then we'll think about, well, what am I going to do with that information? Because it's all very well having data, but until we can turn that data into something we can action, an insight, then it's probably not that much use to us. Okay, so that's our 4-step framework for the rest of our session today. So let's start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. We're going to start with the objective. Okay, so what does my business want to achieve? Lots of different things businesses want to achieve. And there again, have a think for yourself. Pop it in the chat if it helps with helping to crystallize your thoughts. And, you can chat amongst yourselves as well. It doesn't just have to be between you and Sarah. Feel free to throw some ideas out there and share with the rest of the group what it is that you do. So when it comes down to what a business needs to achieve, the objectives of a business, we tend to think of them in quite broad categories as things that the kinds of businesses will want to do. First things that most businesses want to do at some point or another is let people know they exist. So tell people about your business. At some point, if you're a business, you're probably going to want to sell something, whether that's a product, whether that's a service, whatever it is that you are making, doing, providing. Doesn't just have to be a business as well. Third sector organizations, charities can look at their operations in a very similar way. Think about why you're on the internet or why you are doing what you're doing and what are you actually trying to achieve. It might be, okay, I've got some sales. I want to get to know my customers a bit more. And maybe as a step up from getting to know them is to actually identify which of them are most valuable to me. And then I might take that on a further stage. And it's like, well, how can I find more people like those people? Okay. First step might be to identify those valuable customers. And once we've got customers, quite a lot of businesses want to find ways to keep them interested, re-engage with them. The hardest part is quite often finding new people. So once we've converted them, persuaded them to come to us, how can we keep that relationship going? Keep them coming back, give them some value, make them feel like they want to be part of what we're up to. So when you understand what it is that you as a business want to achieve, you're going to have to start thinking of ways to measure that. And that comes down to asking the kinds of right questions. And this is where our questioning framework really comes into its own. Okay, so if you think of those objectives we wanted, finding new customers, selling more things, telling people about us, they're all going to fit really into one of these stages. So the first stage for a lot of businesses is to reach new people, reach out to people. So when we're thinking about the first stage, before people can buy from us, before they can get to know us, they need to know about us, they need to hear about us, and we need to say, okay, how am I going to reach them? That's and the kinds of questions we might have of who are they? Where do they come from? How do they find me? All right. Our next stage, and we'll go through each of these stages a bit more in depth, is engage. What do they do once they find me? And then we'll go into how can I do more good stuff with them? How can I, what did they find engagement? How can I do more engaging things with them? Then we have A, which is activate. Now here we've put how are they spending money? And that's really important for a lot of businesses. But not all businesses have such a simple sales cycle as I find somebody, I engage with them, I sell them something, and then I move on. A lot of businesses, the activation might be getting them to pick up the phone, might be getting them to get in contact, might be getting them to take an action. So with the activate, we're thinking about how am I going to get people to take an action? What are the actions that I want? And how are we going to measure that? So we've reached out and found them, we've engaged with them, we've got them to take an action. Then our final step, which is all too often forgotten really, is nurture. How are we going to look after them? Are they coming back? What do they do when they come back? Does their engagement cycle look different? Okay. So lots of different activities at different stages. And these probably aren't, you won't probably start at one and just work your way through. There's going to be strands of these. Let's take a little bit of a dip. So the kinds of questions, okay, we're in the reach phase. We want to reach out and find people, find out how our reaching out activity is going. Kind of questions might be something like, how are people finding me online? Or what are my target customers searching for to find a business or a product or a service like mine? It might be who's searching for me and how can I find more people like that? And those questions, you can see that if you get the questions right, they actually start to frame the answers, which is why it's really important at everything we do to make sure that we are choosing questions that are genuinely going to make a difference in a positive way to our business. Because there's an old business truism, really, that by measuring something, we can change the behavior of it. So if we measure people on, selling a certain something, then the likelihood is they will sell more of that something because that's where their efforts will be directed. So we need to make sure when we're choosing the questions that we choose the questions that really help move those levers for us. Okay, so reach questions. How am I reaching out and finding people? Who are those people? What do they like about me? All right. And from that initial reach, the next thing we want to do is take them along or down through this funnel, whichever way you like to think of it. It's either along a path or down through a funnel. And think, okay, the next thing is we've reached them. They've found us. What are they engaging with? What are they enjoying? What are they wanting to do more of? Which are the most popular? All of these kinds of questions are going to be around engagement. So you might have some different kinds of communication being sent out. Which of those are actually driving people to engage? And think about, it's all about behavior, all about that, trying to find those moments and those habits and activities that are actually connecting with people and they're getting the information that they need from us in order to activate. All right, so this is taking the action. And that could be channels taking bookings. That could be getting the last thing somebody does before they pick up the phone. It could be filling out a contact form, sending me an email. It could be adding items to their cart. That could be the activation. And then there's all the kind of work around, well, do they actually, for adding it to the cart, do they go on and pay? Are they being directed to my blog? Are they reading the content I want them to take? Okay. So we want to be thinking about the action itself and probably the immediate phase just before and just after with questions like, who are they? What are they doing? Which channels are doing these things? What's the activity going on just before they take that action? And also, what are the actions that they're taking? And then we'll want to optimize. Once we get into answering the questions, we'll want to be optimizing for the things that are the best things for them. And then if we brought them down, okay, they've taken the action we wanted them to take, what happens then? Do they talk about me online? Do they recommend me? Do they leave positive or even negative reviews? Do they buy from me again? Do they, all of those things that go on afterwards? Do they post about me on social media? Do they leave me reviews? These sorts of things are all really important in terms of after the sale. Some businesses, you want to have repeat sales. Other businesses, it may be, say you sold kitchens. They hopefully will only buy a kitchen every 10 or 20 years. It's not then about having those repeat customers. It's about getting those customers, nurturing them so they feel like it was a good thing. And if they're asked, they may be recommending you. All right. So think about the kinds of questions we ask are going to help us to shape our data strategy. Because what we want to do with the answers to those questions is take some actions, find some insights, find those little pieces of knowledge that are going to change our own behavior in the right way. Okay. So where am I going to get the information from is a really, really, really important question to ask yourself. There's some easy places to get information from, and there's information that you can get that maybe is super easy to get, but isn't going to drive behavior in the right way. So if I said I was going to measure the number of likes I got on a particular social platform, I could post cat videos and I could, show pictures of my lunch. If it's not going to help me to sell my industrial widgets, then actually it's not going to be the best information for me to get. All right. So I want to really think about the different kinds and places you can get the information in order to get really good quality insights. Okay, so tons of tools out there. The best thing about being a marketer through this internet age of ours is that there's lots of places we now can get data. I do remember in my early career trying, putting out a leaflet and trying to work out whether the phone had been picked up because they'd seen the leaflet or because they'd read the ad in the paper. It's a lot more immediate. It's a lot more trackable nowadays. And you can also, some of those offline activities, you can drive through and measure through online, in online ways, which is fantastic. You might have a leaflet with a QR code printed on it that takes them through and that makes them then measurable. So we're not just talking about online measurement here. We can look at ways to measure our offline, our non-internet enabled, our non-digital things as well. Loads of tools out there. We're going to break those down into probably 4 areas today. We're going to think a little bit about social media. If you have a business account on a social media platform, it's likely that there'll be some measurements available to you. And they'll have their own tools to help you to do that. You might also, some of the social media scheduling tools, social media management tools, actually are trying their hardest to try and pull together insights from different social media platforms. It is a difficult thing to do because different social media platforms all present their information differently. But they are trying to start to pull these things together to help you. And this is one of the areas where AI has started to help us out a lot by kind of asking the questions that we should be asking of our data for us. You might have heard of a thing called a Google Business Profile. A Google Business Profile is a way that you can get yourself found in search and put your own corner of the internet, corner of the search results page that you can put some information out there. And like most of the tools, it has some ways of measuring. So we'll talk a little bit about all of those. And then in our final section, we'll talk a little bit about Google Analytics 4, because Google Analytics is a tool that's been around a long time, free tool to use, and it's all about measuring clicks on a website, your website specifically. Okay, and I know because Deepika Sharma, that's what you said you were using, Web Analytics. You've said Web Analytics was one of the tools that you were getting data about your business. Google Analytics is for a lot of businesses the tool they use. It's free to use, and maybe that's the one you are using already. If so, it'd be great to hear your experiences of using it as we go through, Deepika. Okay, let's take a look at social media before we get too deep into individual data. So, social media platforms. What is the point of a social media platform? From the social media platform's point of view, it wants to get people to spend time on it. When people have spending time on a social media platform, something like a Facebook, a Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, even YouTube, all of these tools and these platforms want you to spend time on their platform. They also, if you're a business, want you to spend money on their platform. So they all offer insights of different kinds, which is where you can see how people are finding you, how people are engaging with you, what people do next. The great thing about social media insights is that as humans living in 2023, a lot of us give away a lot of our data quite freely. So, if you have a business that wants to find out more about its customers, and in fact want some maybe demographics about them or what else is going on in their lives, then this is a great place to get some information about that. So if you have a social media page set up already for your business, you probably have got some insights there, even if you don't know you had them. And for lots of businesses that either don't have a website yet or who do a lot of especially the early stages, the reach stage, but also the far end, the nurture stage, if you're doing all that through social media, you can absolutely get fantastic measurements and insights using whichever platform you're on. Okay. So the sorts of things we'd be able to do is with social media, with the audience that we've got on there, we'll be able to see which content is performing better. Will they read a long piece of content? Do they tend to engage better at a different time of day or a different day of the week? Do they watch my videos? How much of my video would they watch? Do they leave comments? Do they take actions? All of these things you can really start to understand the content on your platform, and then what you do is you can do more of what works and less of what doesn't. You can also get some demographic insights and geographic insights. Who are these people? Where are they? What are they? What's important to them in a lot of ways. So you can start to really get to know these people a bit more in 3D. You might find interesting insights on there. And it's one of the reasons that I strongly recommend to businesses that when they start out their channel, they don't just send it to their friends and family and ask them to like it. And it's you think, I want some reach, I want to find people, I want to, build an audience. I have to build an audience. However, if you fill your social media audience with people who know you, but aren't ever likely to be a customer of yours, because they're outside those demographics. Maybe, you send it to your mum and your mum sends it on to all her friends. And, you have your cousins on there and people you met when playing golf, whatever it is. If they're not likely to be the right kind of people for buying your product or service or getting involved with your business or your charity or whatever it is you're trying to do, then actually you can be led down a false path. It can be a bit of a red herring with those demographics. So tempting as it may seem to have a bigger audience, it's really about trying to have a good quality audience. So an audience that's most likely to be buying. I would rather have a much smaller audience that was genuinely interested in me and what I had to say, rather than a huge audience that I can't see which are the customers in there because there's just so many people in there who would never buy from me. I might be missing that key information. Okay. And another thing you can do with once you've got some insights on those demographics is start to find lookalike audiences. So there again, if I'm looking for a lookalike audience, I want to know the real demographics of the people who are really interested. All right. And there's lots of measurement you can do. Lots of measurement. How many people have you reached? Has a campaign that you've run had an impact? Has it paid for itself? Is the first thing that marketers always want to know. You know, how well has that budget performed? Was it worth me doing the campaign? Might not have paid for itself in actual sales, but it might have paid for itself in future sales in the way of reach and things. Okay. The idea is that you, as well as what the insights from your social media platform will do, is help you to do more of what works and do less of what doesn't. Okay. So in order to get started, first thing is to check whether you have a business account or a professional account on the particular platforms that you're interested in. Always give a bit of a consumer health warning at this point. You don't have to be active on every single platform. So concentrate your time on the platforms that work well for you and for your business and your customers. And if you don't know which they are, take a look at the insights and see, you know, which ones are performing for you. Most social media platforms offer you an account, a professional account, a business account. They would offer you the chance to switch to one of those, set one of those up at no extra charge. Okay. So once you've got that professional business account, the next thing you need to do is some activity. You can't get any insights if you're not actually doing anything. So start creating things. Don't worry that it's not going to be perfect to start with. In fact, it will never be perfect. No such thing as perfect, Christine. But start feeding some activity, some posts, some content, like some things, share some things, get sociable on social media. The more you do that, the more you're going to have in terms of data to play with when you start to measure and try and find insights. The bigger data set you can get for yourself, the better. So different kinds of posts, try stuff, post images, post videos, post text, post links off, post website things, whatever it is, comment on things, share things, be generous. Start creating that content, and then you'll be able to start measuring it. Okay. Now, it might be that you've doing that for a while and you never actually checked out your insights, in which case you're in a great position because you can jump straight to section 3 and start reviewing, well, what have I done in the past? You know, you'll be able to start viewing things like how engaged people are, what are they visiting, what have they liked, what have they shared? You can start to see, or you can do a review of what you've got. You need a data set, and then you start, well, what worked? What was most popular? What got me the desired actions? Oh, I'll do more of that sort of thing then. Okay. On the Meta Suite, so we're talking Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, you can use a thing called the Ad Center. And that's a great place to go and look for insights on any paid posts, sponsored posts that you've created. And that can help you not only get the insights, but then adjust your budgeting and things as well from there. And as well as Ad Center, which belongs to Meta, there are also other third-party platforms out there. So things like we've mentioned already, Hootsuite. But there are more tools, social media management tools out there, Buffer's out there, Sprout Social's out there. Third-party platforms that help you to pull in insights from all the different places that you might have a social media presence. And that way you can get additional insights. You can start to find out how you're sitting in a whole marketplace rather than just tool by tool. If you can get it pulling in together, it should also hopefully save you a bit of time and also start to see if there's different audiences on different platforms, or whether the same people are finding you on the same platform. If you see what I mean. Another tool, and this one's actually great for organic search, is a tool called Google Search Console. Now, for Google Search Console to work, you have to have a website. So website owners should be, in my opinion, using Google Search Console to see how they're performing in search. And this is organic search. It can help you find things like, well, first of all, can Google find your website? Am I being indexed? When was the last time I was indexed? Is it everything up to date? If there's any problems, then you'll be able to troubleshoot those. And it's brilliant. It gives you some insights. It gives you some hints and tips as to what you should be doing. You can see if you're appearing in search, how often you're appearing in search, how high up or down the rankings you are, how many times you are seen, and how many times you've actually clicked. So you can start to give yourself things to work on, get things to do better on. Quite often people use Google Search Console and find out that they're being found for things that they never thought they would be, and they don't know why, so they'll take a little look in to that. So you can find out which search queries are showing your site, and then you might find out, well, I'm being shown for this particular term, but actually I'm on the 5th page. I'd like to be known for that. How can I do some work to improve my content so I'm found in a better way? Okay. It also is great to almost flip it on its head and say, well, this is what people have been this is what people have been searching for. What a great idea. I'm going to write some content to push it out on different channels. It's not just about improving your website. You can see, aha, I've been searched for. Maybe I was found, maybe I wasn't found as high as I wanted to be. How can I create something more in order to be found in a better way? Okay. So in terms of Google Search Console, first of all, you need a website. Okay. So if you don't have a website yet, close your ears on this one. You need to head over to g.co/search console and to sign up, give it a few basic details. And once you've linked Search Console to your website, you need to verify that the website belongs to you. So that's all part of the process. Similar to a lot of tools, it's all about making sure that only the people who have the right to this important information are able to do so. So then the next thing you want to do is check that all your pages are being found by Google. So that's a report called the Coverage Report, which shows all the different URLs on your site that Google knows about. Now, sometimes you might have pages on your site that you don't want to be immediately searchable. Sometimes there are pages stored behind password protected areas, for example. But sometimes people have sites and pages that they're putting their heart and soul into creating, and then they're not actually findable. So that you can double check against that. Okay. You can see how your website's performing over last 90 days, for example, and how it's performing along. And you can also start to brush up on some of the basics there of SEO, which is search engine optimization. You don't need to be able to be a coder. You don't need to be able to build the website yourself. But the more you know about the psychology almost of how people search, and of how search engines make themselves as useful as possible to the searcher by indexing and cataloging websites to bring them good answers. Thinking about how your site is organized, think about how your site is written is going to help you become more findable. We go on into that in a lot more detail in a broadcast called Get Your Business Visible on Google. So if you do want to find out more about what we're up to, head down to our description below and link through to our website. Now, I think I probably mentioned Google Business Profile. It's a great place. You don't have to have your own website to have a presence in the search engine results. And that's through your Google Business Profile. It also gives smaller businesses the chance to have a pin on the map and be found, if that's right for the kind of business you are. Get yourself found on Google Search and Google Maps. Can't go into it in detail here. It is one of my favorite tools for small businesses. If you want to know more, that same Get Your Business Visible on Google sessions I was just talking about for Search Console, we also cover the Google Business Profile. But basically, it's a great way for you to tell the world's biggest search engine and all the people searching on that, they're local to you and searching for a business or a service or a product like yours, then that's where you might be able to send them. Okay. And Google Business Profile has its own insights that show you how your listing's doing. Are people knowing your name and then looking for you, or are they searching for category that you happen to be in? Businesses like yours near me. If I was a cafe and people are searching for cafes near me or restaurants near me or good coffee near me, am I being found for that sort of thing? Okay. So you can have lots of, there's some really strong insights. You can see if people are going from finding you on the search engine results page, finding your Google Business Profile, or seeing your post in Maps and clicking on directions. Well, that might show that they have an intent to come and visit you. So you might be able to say, we've seen an increase in people footfall through the door and some of the work since we went on Google Business Profile, for example. Okay. You can see whether people have clicked through to your website, clicked onto your profile, learnt more about you, read the words that you've put out there. How did they search for you? What queries? Another thing about, well, they found me for cafe near me, or they found me for great coffee near me, or top rated coffee in Wolverhampton. You can start to see what real people are finding you for, and then making sure that you are optimizing for those sorts of things. And the more you learn, the more positive changes you make, the more things that you try and test and do, the more likely you are to show up on search, to show up in Maps, and it can be a real virtuous circle with it. So in terms of getting started, as I say, one of my absolute favorite tools for smaller businesses, especially those of you who have a local intent and want to tell the world's biggest search engine and the world's best mapping system that that you are local to somebody. So if you don't already have a Google Business Profile, you're going to need to start by getting one. So sign up for that. We've got webinars that will help take you through that. Or you can head to the link on screen, which is business.google.com. Get yourself signed up. You need to be signed into your Google account. If this is the first time setting anything up, I'll probably say something in a minute when we talk about analytics that's very similar. Choose one account for your business and keep it separate from your personal Google account. All right. It just makes things cleaner. You can, if you have a business email address, use your business email address to create a Google account. You don't have to create a Gmail when you do that, but you can use your business email address to sign into Google. Make that your profile on Google. Make sure that all the tools that you used are linked to the same profile. It just makes life so much easier if you're doing this from scratch. Okay. Then the next thing to do is to search on Google for your exact business name. All right. And it may exist already. The Google may know enough about your business to know that at the place you are, there's a business by that name. If you're found, then that's great. If you're not, then you'll have to create that business. Okay. And then once you've got that Google Business Profile and you've found your profile, it will come up at the top. You manage this profile. Head over to Promote and then Performance and have a look at the data that's out there. Okay, so there's this whole business insights portion of your Google Business Profile that is just chock full of information. And similar to your social media posts, it might be that you've had a Google Business Profile for a while. If so, phenomenal, because what's going to happen is you're going to go in there and there's going to be the last 9 months, the last quarter's data ready there for you to see. And then one of the tools that is both really well known, but also really underutilized, I'm going to put it that way, is Google Analytics. Google Analytics is a tool where you can get insights into how your website performs, how people, real people, look at your website, when they look at it, what they're looking at, what they're doing, how they're clicking, where they've come from, where are they going. There's so much detail. And what actually happens sometimes is there's so much detail that people get a little bit intimidated by the whole thing. and they close it down and they go and do something easier. I don't want that for you. So today we're going to spend the rest of our time together getting to grips with some of the ways that you can look, some of the simple insights that you might be of use to you that you can really start to build a data strategy from. Okay? Because basically you can monitor every click that anybody makes on your site. So there's a lot of things you could be measuring. Let's have a look at some of the things we think might be good for you to get started measuring. Okay. It is the most popular website analytics tool. It's not the only one out there. But for most businesses that I work with, I'd be saying, well, why would you pay for something if there's a free tool that would do it for you? All right. So the kinds of things that with Google Analytics, it's all about evaluating marketing performance. So a lot of marketers, they spend a lot of time trying to get people to come to their website. All right. So we can see when people were coming, what prompted them to come along to the website. I was saying about measuring offline campaigns. I might have a stand at a trade show and generate a QR code or have a website URL that says www.mywebsite/ the name of this show. And anybody who comes to the show and either sees that QR code or comes to that special URL, I will know that they saw me at that show. So I can actually start to measure, if they then go on to become a customer, I can start to measure the impact of that show. So it's not just for online activity. We can take it to measure our offline activity as well. We can start to understand our engagements. Are people clicking forwards or are they clicking back at the most fundamental level? What are they clicking forward to? Where do they land? Do they appear on my homepage and then magically follow the paths I want them to? Probably not. Do they find me in lots of different places? Which of those places? Where are they coming from? Are they finding me through socials? We've so much information that you can find. And you can start to learn about your site users, learn about their behavior. Do they come at a certain time of day, certain day of the week? Do they always respond to a certain stimulus, the emails that you sent? Do you see a little bump in activity after you've sent that email out? You'll be able to start to measure or be measuring those different activities as well. You can even use it to help you to work out when you would send those emails. Run some experiments, test some things, try some things, do more of what works and do less of what doesn't. And remember I said to use the same account, your same Google account for all your different tools. If you do that, and it's possible if you don't, but the simplest way to do that is that once you've used that same email address, maybe you've signed up for Google Search Console. Maybe you've signed up for Google Ads. Other tools can all be found and pull all the data pulled together and aggregated within Google Analytics. So you'll be able to take the data and follow that journey that people take from before they've even seen you all the way through to what they do when they leave. Okay. So in a moment, we'll just take a little bit of a look, because what we said we would do is take a deep look into the data from Google Analytics. All right. So Google Analytics, it is a tool to measure clicks on a website. We're up to version 4 of Google Analytics. Those of you who've been doing this a while might have remembered it's about 2 years ago now since Google Analytics 4 came onto the scene. The older version, it wasn't called Google Analytics 3, it was called Universal Analytics. I'm not sure why that was, but Universal Analytics, it had a UA code. Google Analytics is now having a G code, a GA code, which if you've ever set up your analytics to your site, you'll know just what I'm talking about. If not, don't worry, we'll talk through that. And the point of why we had to change is because website user behavior has changed and is changing. When the old version of analytics was designed, we'd have one website. People would, had far fewer ways to find our website. They would probably only have one screen open at a time, not 400 tabs. I've definitely had it when I've had 4 tabs for the same website open all at the same time. Or I've been using my computer, then I've gone out and about and I'm using my phone, then I've gone out and about and I'm using an app, say. So lots of different ways. So Google Analytics is a more intelligent update. It has machine learning at its core. So it is helping you to find the insights, helping you to spot the trends. It can analyze the data and say, oh, have you had a look at this one? So it's really useful across, if you have different platforms, different devices, it's really useful for that. So Google Analytics 4, powered by AI. So it helps you to get those actionable insights. It collects data from different sources. It's not just from your single website. It will pull in from apps and from mobile and that sort of thing. It uses event-based data instead of session-based data. So it can pinpoint a little bit more accurately what's going on, what people are actually really interested in. It's got privacy controls built in, so you can have cookieless measurement, you can have behavioral modeling, conversion modeling, and it's got different flexible privacy settings in order to meet the privacy requirements, both now and ongoing for different kinds of regulations. It's one of those key topics that will keep coming back around with businesses. It gives you a bit more control over the data that you collect as well. It can look at your data for you, and it's super smart. It can predict what trends are happening, and it can also highlight if there's been an anomaly. I spotted one recently where I was looking at website data, and it said, oh, you had an unusually high level of traffic on this particular date. And when I spoke to the business owner, they were like, oh, that date sounds familiar. So they went back in their calendar, and bearing in mind that they hadn't looked at their data very often, the date in the calendar was a couple of months behind, and they could absolutely see that there was a spike in traffic on their website that was corresponded, can't say it was caused by it, but I think we probably could, that corresponded with them attending a big trade show. So people, even if they hadn't come to the trade show and seen them on the stand, they were getting to know them and they could see this spike of activity. So then we took a look and investigated that a bit further. So it can spot those anomalies. It can predict the trends once you've given it enough to learn on. And it integrates directly into different media platforms. So it can help you to drive those actions on your website or your app. So I've mentioned AI, and it's 2023, everybody seems to be talking about AI. So what Google's advanced modeling techniques mean is that you can get more insights, spot those anomalies easier, and get recommendations. So a great thing that you can do is ask questions of the Google tool using real language, rather than having to try and put it into some kind of coding speak. All right. So use natural language to ask questions about your data. Like, how many conversions did I get last week in England? And it will help you find that report, rather than relying on you being able to interpret the language of the report. One of the criticisms, I guess, leveled of universal analytics and analytics in the past was that you had to speak another language. It wasn't just about being able to use the data. It was almost being able to understand what it was telling you. So you can ask those questions in your natural language. You can spot trends in your data in the insights and recommendations. It will show you what it thinks is going on, and that helps you to act on them a lot sooner if you are going into your data regularly. And then, as I say, you can spot those anomalies as well. Then you can think, okay, well, what caused that peak? What caused that trough? You could also think about how, well, okay, I know that particular day there were lots of people going on it, but it was for this specific reason. And then you'll be able to just make a note of that and highlight that as we go through. So in terms of getting started, with Google Analytics 4, if you are new have a new website or you're new to doing analytics of any sort, you will go straight onto Google Analytics 4, and you don't even need to worry about the fact that a year ago, 2 years ago, there was a different version. If you, since the old version got turned off this summer, so if you still haven't been into your old analytics account since the summer, then you will have been moved over the best way possible to a new Google Analytics 4 account. You'll need to do just a little bit of checking to make sure it's measuring what you want it to measure. Okay. If you are setting up from scratch, then you want to set up a new account. Head to analytics.google.com to create that free account. Then you're going to need to link it to your website. All right. You end up by setting up a data stream. Make sure when you're setting up your account, do it on that same business account that you have for all your other tools. Pop in your URL and then click Create Stream. And what it does is it's going to give you this measurement ID, that code beginning with a G up there. And that little box with a box by it, you copy that ID down, because the next thing you're going to need to do is tag up your website so it knows which website to tag. Okay. This sounds really complicated, and I'll be quite quick on over it, really, because we want to get to the good stuff. But the point of tagging up your website is that you're probably not the first person who's ever had to do this for your content management system, the way your website is built. So you could either send that tag to whoever builds your website and ask them to do it for you, or you can follow the instructions on your CMS, your content management system, and something like WordPress or Wix. They will all have either a module that you add, a plugin that you add, or a place on your template to add your Google ID, to add your Google Analytics tags. Okay. Or you could add that tag yourself to a Google Tag Manager. And after you've added it all up, gone through all of the processes, then, it can take up to 30 minutes, an hour. From that point, every click will be measured. What it can't do is it can't look backwards. All right. So it can only measure from the time you set those tags up. That's great. But I found where that information is. What am I going to do with it? So what I'm going to do is take you through a very whistle-top, high-level tour of some of the different types of reports in analytics. Okay. So the first thing you're going to see in analytics is the reports page. Okay. The great thing about your actual landing page, in the past, if you had old analytics, you would have to build your landing page if you wanted to customize it at all. Now, this Google Analytics 4, your homepage is going to show you both things it thinks you should be interested in, but also take you directly to things you found before. So it starts to learn the things that you want to see. Saves us a lot of time searching for the same things over and over again. So you're going to see a snapshot of all kinds of different reports displayed as cards. And if you want to know more info, you can click on each of those cards, those little report cards, and it will take you into more information. Okay. It will give you some insights about unusual things going on, or things it's spotted, trends. Are you going up? Are you going down? Have you had specific interest from a specific place? That sort of thing. And yeah, that's your good starting place. Now, remember, we had those read questions. We're reaching out, we're engaging, we're activating, maybe we're nurturing. The Google reports, the Google Analytics reports, can help you at pretty much every stage. So your reach questions tend to be about acquisition. Okay, so I think we saw it here. Here you can see on this menu that appears on the left-hand side, when you move your mouse over to the left-hand side, these icons kind of expand out and you get these menu options: acquisition, engagement, monetization, and retention. And they kind of help you follow your funnel. Acquisition, how did I reach people? Engagement, how are they engaging with me? Activation, you can either have specific events that you want to measure that would be part of probably the engagement side of things, or you could be measuring actual monetization and basket values and that sort of thing. People actually buying boxes, handing over pound notes for you. And then nurture, we can look at the retention. Are users returning? How can we nurture them to become repeat customers? So with our reach questions, we're looking at that acquisition area. So here's a great acquisition report. This is the first report I will go to pretty much on any new website I look at. It is our, we're looking by channel at how people are finding you online. Okay, so this is our traffic acquisition report. And it shows how we acquired the traffic that came to our site. All right, so is that organic search, social media, ad campaigns, email campaigns, lots of different ways they might come to us. And we can start to see, how many people, but not just how many people, how long they spent. And we might find we got fewer people, but they spent an awful lot of time, or they went on to take those much more desired actions with us. So to get this data, you'd head to you might find that as one of your cards. If not, head to the acquisition reports, then look at user acquisition, and then we'll see where people are coming from. So if we get something like this, and this is a zoom in on that table, because you get lots of tables in there. We've got that acquisition data, our reach data. We might look at organic search and think, oh, well, we'll compare that with our search console, and we might want to do some work to improve those people coming. Or we might think, how are we going to look? We might go more in depth into organic search and see what search terms are driving them to us. Or we might see what pages they're landing on. We can start to investigate further. As well as getting answers to our questions, we quite often get more questions. Okay, so sometimes the answer is another question. You might see that we're getting less from organic social than we thought we might. How can we do more on organic? Do we need to look at paying? Do we, are we making it dead easy for people to get to our social media? Or do people tend to want to stay within the platform? So we might decide to do more over there. We might think, oh, look, actually, when people come to us from referring sites, from affiliates, we can see what's working for us. Do we want to do more of that? There are no out and out right and wrong answers. It's just about starting to understand our own data. With engagement, how are they behaving? Once they've found me online, what do they do? So here we can say, on our engagement overview, we can start to see how long people are staying, our average engagement time. We can see the pages that they're going to, the most viewed pages, how long they're spending lingering on different things. Can see what they're clicking through on, where they're leaving, and where they're joining. Lots of information about the path that they take through our website. Okay. So we can start to see which pages are popular. We can start to see where pages are not so popular, and really start to see what people are interested in. So we can see different pages, different pieces of content that people are spending time on, that people are finding interesting, that people are finding us on. Then I said we could plug in and see what people are doing, how they're spending the money, how they are understanding those sales. So if you don't sell product online, Activate, as we've said, could be any kind of conversion, any kind of behavior, making that booking, downloading that white paper, even filling in that contact us form. Okay, so check out, if you do have a basket purpose, make sure you plug that in. Use the platform to plug in whatever it is that goes in with your CMS, that goes into your basket system. There will be, for most platforms, a way that you can just pull in all of those steps of your basket. Are they adding it to basket? Are they following all the way through to checkout? And then you'll get some great insights about what people are liking and what they are doing. And you get a wealth of information there on what they're buying, what they're viewing, what they are adding to basket, what they're taking back out again, and use that information to really hone your offering and start to work on that. And then finally, nurturing. What happens after the activation? Do they come on back? So we can see there's a whole section on retention reports. We see our first initial actions that people take, and then are they coming back? How often do they come back? How long do they spend? Are they coming back to the same products again and again, or are they all first-time users? And we'll be able to see that kind of information as we get through. Okay, so yeah, how often they're coming back and for how long is really important. And then we might set up some campaigns to bring people back, what we would call remarketing, and then we'll be able to see how often those people are coming back. All right. We might discover, for example, that conversions actually don't happen until the second visit or the third visit. And we might change the way we lay out our site in order to focus that, to bring people back. So the more we learn about our unique customers, the more we can start to mold ourselves for what we need to do. All right, my friends, we are just running out of time. I can see that Sarah's been answering all the questions as we go through, which is great. That's why I do love working with Sarah. I'm going to start to just wrap up with you. Sarah is going to pop a link in to a feedback code. You can also, in a sec, come back and snap this QR code. And we'd love to grab feedback from you. If you wouldn't mind just giving us a moment for that, that would be amazing. You can carry on learning online in your own time. Check out our website, the Google Digital Garage website, link below for how to go about doing that. And we've got more broadcasts coming up. If you're based here in the UK, you can even look out for us as we go around and about the country doing live in-person training sessions. All of those will be linked at our website. Other than that, though, thank you so much. I have to wrap up now because I am completely out of time. I hope it's been a useful dive into analytics for you. A phenomenal world out there. So do give it a go. Test it, try it, do more of what works, do less of what doesn't, and do check out everything else that we've got coming up. Thanks for joining today. Sarah and I look forward to welcoming you again to another Google Digital Garage training session sometime soon.